Alright, yo. It's Blush Cameron here with a new episode of my new podcast. There are a couple firsts for today's episode. One is that there are multiple guests today on the call at once. Those guests being Timmy and Michael from the band Courier Club. Courier Club is a sick band from Philadelphia, and I haven't talked to more than one person at a time on here before, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's not. But there's definitely a different dynamic that I haven't become accustomed to. I haven't tried it before, but I think it worked out. And secondly, I've never actually met either of these guys in person. Timmy, I know just from being mutuals on Instagram, being from Philly. We followed each other and quickly realized that we're both into some of the same niche nerd stuff. So we connected on that, and I also immediately could tell that what he and his band have been doing is very cool and very much up my alley. And I appreciate the work and effort and creativity they put into everything that they do. So that was another thing that I, knew I wanted to know who these guys were. But yeah, a combination of those two firsts for this episode made me a little bit nervous going into this conversation. But I think we hit it off pretty fast once we got over that. First little bit of uncomfortableness once we broke the ice. I really enjoyed talking to them. If you haven't heard, they're putting together like a Minecraft festival, which sounds weird, but they'll explain it, and it's actually extremely cool, in my opinion. And they have some pretty big bands playing. And it's extremely interesting, very interesting how it all came together and how they've gotten it to work out. So if you're interested in that, it hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen May 26th, Friday, May 26th. So hit up their social media pages for more information, Courier Club. Not much new with me, still locked down. The time has been going by very fast. Weirdly enough, you'd think that it'd slow down, but it's going by extremely fast, and that's freaky to me, because I'm already nervous about life and how fast it's all over and getting older, and it's like, all right, now there's nothing, we can't really do a whole lot, forced to stay in, and life is just flying by. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's scary. If you want to commiserate, hit me up on Instagram and Twitter. You might as well, if the world is shut down or ending, you might as well follow me. If you're not already. I'm also on Patreon, which I haven't done a great job of keeping updated. But I will. I'm collecting scraps from all these episodes so far, stuff that had to be cut. I'll be posting on Patreon as extra bonus content. For instance, at the end of this episode, we kept talking about video game stuff for a good amount of time after, actually, we pretty much ended the pod. We kept going, and I had to cut that stuff. But I did leave in some video game discussion in the beginning, it's a little bit awkward at the beginning, but it leads into the Minecraft stuff pretty well, so I left it in. Anyways, if you're interested in extra stuff, patreon.com/blushcameron, and holler at me on Instagram if there's anything you want to see posted on there, or any guests you want me to try to get. At blushcameron is my Instagram. That's pretty much it. I hope everyone's hanging in there. These guys rock, so I hope you enjoy sitting in on our conversation. Peace.
just figuring out how to get 50,000 people into a Minecraft server.
Dude, I can't wait to ask you guys about this because this is like an insane thing that you guys are doing. Whose voice is whose? Since I haven't talked to you guys before.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Michael.
Okay, cool. So how are you guys doing today?
Pretty good. Just woke up, did a little reading, and planning out some new builds for the server. I think we were talking last night, and we're taking everything in the direction of like more into the whole video game culture thing, and less just trying to make it look like a normal festival. But Mop, what about you?
Pretty much the same typical quarantine day. Woke up pretty late. Texted Tam about some build ideas, I guess. Planning some group builds. But yeah, we pretty much have 2 weeks until the festival. So it's getting... Last week flew by, and now it's getting to be like, oh, we have like... starting to see some deadlines popping up, so...
Dude, time is going crazy fast. It's freaking me out.
What have you been doing? Keeping past time?
Yeah, just, I don't know, sulking, you know. Sleeping.
Same.
No, I've been playing video games and watching movies and chatting online with my friends, you know.
Hell yeah. Yeah, no, it's
games you've been playing?
I've been playing this game, Trials of Mana. It's like a remake of an old Super Nintendo game.
Is it a remake of Secrets of Mana, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's in the same franchise.
Oh, okay, cool. I've yet to touch any of those yet, but I used to work at a bar that had an Super Nintendo, just like in the just like right over the bar, and I was talking to my boss about it. And he was just like, "One day you gotta give this a shot, and you're gonna hate it. It's gonna be the hardest thing you ever played." And I was like, "Okay, not now." I play a little bit. Like I go back and forth with the Japanese RPGs, and then then I get kind of sick of it, and then I'm like, "Oh, I need to play something that's a bit more Western," and then I go back and just. But the worlds are always way more just vibrant and fun, and less like. Just bland.
Yeah, it's like a very distinct style, right? But I like the Western RPGs too, like Skyrims and that type of stuff. Yeah,
it's like I feel like I like because I'm a huge like Tolkien nut, so I love that stuff. But then they do end up just getting kind of gray after a while.
Yeah,
like I love like the Warhammer universe and all that nonsense, but. Yeah.
What about you, Mop? You play any games or just build Minecraft servers?
I'm not a huge gamer. It's been a lot of Minecraft recently. Tam and I were playing Star Wars Battlefront last night. That was pretty sick.
Hell yeah.
I just found out about that game, the new version of it. So just being like a B1 battle droid was just like the TV show, except I was in it. So that was cool.
Yeah, I haven't played the new one, but I loved the PlayStation 2 games growing up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I used to play those all the time as a kid, and then took a break from video games for a while, and then I played I don't know what it was exactly called, but the Star Wars Battlefront that was on like PS4, I guess. So It came out a couple years ago, and it just seemed very like unfinished and like basic. But then I played this more recent one, which I don't know the exact name of, but it just was like so immersive and like the graphics and all the animations and the feel of the game was just awesome. So been into that, but I feel like I've never been like a huge gamer as much as you guys have been. But I've always enjoyed it. And
so how did the block by blockwest thing come about?
We made just a joke one day trying to be cheeky on our Twitter and being like, yeah, we're going to play a show of Minecraft if our tour gets canceled. And then it just kind of, grew out of control from there, and every day got a bit more serious. And then we found out that these are things that has happened in the past. So we were like, okay, there's definitely a way we can do this So it started off just being a thing we were going to do for just like our fans and a couple of our friends' bands. And then our manager was just like, there's a lot of interest in this. And he just kind of like was just taking pop shots, being like, all right, let's just see like what, if I can see if any other bigger artists want to kind of play this. And it just every day more and more people were signing on.
Wow.
And then they were like telling their friends about it. And then we get emails from like people that they want to have on the festival. And it just kind of went from this small thing to a day before the festival, or like I think it was like 3 days before the festival actually. But like Massive Attack from the UK was just like, hey, can we play a set on it?
Whoa,
and we were like,
asked?
Yeah, only thing in Massive Attack I know is like, I was just like, oh yeah, like Pitchfork loves them, and like they were like a huge influence on like the UK scene. I was more into like the streets myself, but yeah, and they just just slid into our email, and they were like, holy shit, what? So
yeah, that kicks ass. Explain to me how this is going to work. Are these bands going to be controlling their avatars, or is there like a live stream of them actually performing? Or explain to me how this is going to work.
Yeah, everything's pre-recorded, but exclusive for the festival. I think that I know some bands are dropping new songs actually for during the festival, which would be pretty cool. But yeah, but basically it's like there's three. The way it's working now is there's 3 worlds, and each world is its own stage. And as of now, I think the 3 worlds we're talking like a 70s contemporary snow resort. It's a very Tolkien-ish kind of like medieval one, and then a like underground bunker kind of futuristic cyberpunk kind of thing. And basically each one has a stage and like a bunch of Easter eggs to explore, and the bands are on the stage as their avatars, and we have skins for every artist. Whoa. So it's going to be like looking like them, and you just tune into like an audio stream and just jump around, and you watch those artists just kind of like perform in a sense by just kind of like running around the stage and stuff. And it's like silly, but it definitely, I've been to a few of them now, and like I like the feeling of just like being in a room with a bunch of people and like going crazy like a normal live show, like even though you're just smashing the space bar, it does translate in a very weird way.
Yeah, I mean, like it seems like this should have almost become popular sooner with the rise of Twitch and live streaming in general. Like people who live stream themselves walking around, you really feel like you're hanging out with them. So it makes sense that more musicians are doing it. I'm just surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
I definitely think that, like I was surprised because people have been trying this idea out since 2018. After looking back, and it's finally catching hold now.
Now that there's no other option.
Yeah, and I hope that stays. Like I hope that like when everything goes back to not normal, but when we kind of grow past this phase, I think people are still gonna like value this, because it's like one thing that excites us about it is like it has no restrictions. Like there's no geographical restrictions, there's no monetary restrictions other than you still at this point need to get Minecraft, and that's a workaround that can be fixed in the future, but it's just more accessible than like going to South by Southwest or going to Coachella or something like that.
So do people need to buy a ticket to be able to attend, or is it free?
It's completely free. For this event, though, we're doing VIP, like a VIP experience with like meet and greets and stuff with some of the bands, just to kind of push donations.
Mm-hmm. So there's donations, though.
Yes, yeah. I mean, like we hit our donation mark already. So on the 25th, the festival was supposed to happen, but we were only expecting around 10,000 people throughout the whole day, and we opened the server, and in like minutes there was like 7,000 people that joined.
Wow.
And then thousands who couldn't get in because the server capped out, and we hit our goal like in in a second, like in seconds.
That
It was
rules.
it was crazy. So we had to like unfortunately kind of like postpone it, and that was like a whole fiasco. Like it was funny. Like woke up the next morning and there was like an article in like the Dutch NPR just being like Travis Scott did what Courier Club couldn't,
Oh
and I was
God,
like, what? I was like, this is silly. This is some like
that's
I was like,
wild.
what happened yesterday? So we had to just postpone it, and basically we brought on a bigger team, and we're partnering with like a cloud hosting company that are going to give us the servers that we need to put this on. And it's after doing the math, it's going to be 97 times bigger
Jesus.
on our back end than it was the day of. So I mean, and none of us are really like we're not the techiest of kids. Luckily, Mop's younger brother is. But so it's just kind of funny how out of hand this all got, and we were just like, this was just a joke. At
Yeah,
first.
I was gonna ask how you guys are figuring out the server stuff, or if you had to like bring some more people on to help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one big problem with the first go at it was we were just like still really understaffed because I don't think any of us understood like like how much, I guess, how many moving parts something like this really has because we'd never done it before. So one thing we're doing now is just connecting with lots of various types of developers from either like Minecraft or just the rest of the tech world, and they're just helping us do something like this on the scale that we're dealing with now, just because it's like I think it's probably impossible just for like the 4 or 5 of us to do on our own. So building out the team, I think, will be really important for this next shot at it, for having it work.
Definitely.
Are there any artists you were trying to get but couldn't get?
So
Wait, go
So
on.
we reached out to like probably hundreds of artists for the original lineup, and so far I don't think there's any changes for the next one. So like everyone that's on that bill should be what's on this upcoming one. But yeah, we reached out to a ton of artists. We were lucky to hear back from the ones we got and got those confirmed. But after all the press came out about like our first date, about the attendance numbers and everything, our manager actually did hear back from a lot of artists who weren't really interested the first time. So it is cool that even though the event wasn't a complete success, that people are still interested in the next one.
That's great. Oh God, that freaked me out so much if that happened.
Yeah,
I was trying to get the 3 artists I really wanted. Once like things started getting a bit crazy, and we were like, wait, we could probably get like large artists on this. I was like, okay, Converge, Mineral, and Charlie XCX. Those are my 3 goals. And we didn't hit those, but like we hit similar artists in every other like in all the genres. So like we were like, all right, we almost got there. Maybe next time.
Dude, that would be so sick to see Converge in a virtual Minecraft world.
I was just like, because I don't know. Also, like a lot of my friends are just like really into Kurt Blue, and I was just like, guys, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to figure it out. I don't know how, but I have no connections with him at all.
I don't want to veer away too soon. If there's anything else you want to say about Block by Blockwest, but since Converge came up, are you guys into hardcore at all? And how did you get into music in the first place?
I grew up with a lot of my friends. So I grew up like in a place called Bates Landing, which is like right outside of Atlantic City, New Jersey. So there was like a decent hardcore scene and emo scene down there. I wasn't never really too much into hardcore. I was more leaning on the emo side, but I feel like those 2 genres just kind of like hung out with each other growing up. Like they're kind of intertwined. So yeah, I just kind of like grew up in that scene. And then as I grew older, I just started going like, cause like my first bands were just like, first band was like the classic Green Day cover band. And then, then you're covering like Weezer and Coheed and Cambria. And then you get into that. And then you start finding like, I guess like a little bit more obscure emo records and think you're all arty at that point and, go through it all. But then as I grew a little bit older, I like started just driving up to Philly for shows and trying to catch shows up here. And because like it was like I always joked around that like the Pine Barrens kind of like was like the fucking no man's land for culture, and that things never like got through the Pine Barrens to us until like years later. Like, and I noticed that with pop punk, because I remember like as being a kid and like getting into pop punk, but then realizing that like you go to Philly and it's like as like just like sonically like way past that.
Right.
And it's like something like the Midwest. It's like you go to some towns out there and it's, you know, you almost feel like they haven't, like you guys haven't gotten to this point yet, in a sense, because like it's just everything moves so fast in like Philly and New York. But yeah, I don't know. I just like it literally grew up with just like video game soundtracks being that what's just like got me into like the more indie kind of world, I guess. And then just like the like, you know, I don't know, Burnout 3, and like MLB baseball. I mean, like sports video games, like I hated playing sports video games, but like the soundtracks, phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, I noted that your guys' music sounds like it could be on a Burnout soundtrack. I imagine that's deliberate.
Very deliberate. I think that's kind of like I don't know, when we started the band, we were like, what's going to be our gimmick, but like, where are we going to like rally people behind as like a visual identity? Or like just kind of like where we're going to like take our slice at. And that's kind of like, we're like, all right, let's start here. And, we can expand in the future, but I think if we just, I mean, our bio is like PS1 Gran Turismo soundtrack, which is one of my favorites.
Mop, what do you play in the band?
I'm the bass player.
Okay. And how did you get into the music scene?
So I grew up in a town called Rockville, Maryland, which is just a super vanilla suburb outside of DC. And the music scene there, at least for like rock and that kind of stuff, is pretty non-existent. I'd say like the DIY scene there is more just like SoundCloud rap and like that kind of stuff. So I personally never really felt any like connection with that kind of thing. But how I got into music was when I was super young, like 5 or 6, my dad would show me like the Beatles and Led Zeppelin, and we would watch like really old like concert DVDs on TV and stuff. And then I got into like his record collection, and that's kind of was like when I decided I was like really passionate about music, just because like I loved what I was hearing so much. And then as I grew up and was in middle school, I made some friends who kind of had the same experiences with their dad showing them, like kind of just the same stuff. And then from there, I kind of went in the direction of like 90s grunge and that kind of thing. So probably while Tim was getting into emo, I was getting into like Nirvana and Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and like that kind of stuff when I was like 13 or 14. And I guess because there was no place to go see like a small show with your friends at that age. So I was really just into like the big commercial stuff, like the Black Keys and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and just things that were so big at that time where it was impossible to not know about them. So those were like some of my favorite bands at that time. And it really took until like high school and later to start getting really into like some more niche things and more unique stuff. But I did at that time find friends who were in the same exact position where like they had found those big things and then those big acts. And then at the same time, we would go into the YouTube, like wormholes and, or black holes, I mean, and find like unique things and listen to that, and then start bands and start off covering the Red Hot Chili Peppers and then write our own stuff that was like blues rock. But it was the first time we had like made something that was our own. So, and then that kind of just grew until I moved to Philly, and then eventually we made Courier Club, and so.
Yeah, so how long have you both been in Philly, and how did you guys meet?
I've been in Philly since 2017 now. I moved in, I was actually playing in like a straight up like pop band, giving that a shot. And I mean, it was, it was like my crash course on everything to get to this point. So I just moved to the city with them from Jersey and down South Philly.
What was that band called?
We were called FV. It was it was fun. It was like my like high school band that turned into like that, the kind of like the bridge into like the real world in a sense. I guess that would explain it. And it was like cool. It was like a nice glimpse of like, here you're gonna mess up all this stuff, but here's like you'll learn how to do all these things by just fucking it up the first time, kind of deal. And Mop actually, Mop, how did my girlfriend
okay.
go to rent party shows, and then I met.
Yeah, wait. I'll explain just so he knows what that is. So I was in a similar position when I moved to Philly, where when I was a senior in high school in like the spring of that school year, I started like, I'd say like my first like real band were like, which was actually with Jack and Ryan, who are the guitarist and drummer of Courier Club. So the three of us were in another band with a fourth guy. And that started like right before I moved to Philly because I go to Drexel now. So moved up to Philly with our blues rock band. I was the only one who moved. We were in this blues rock band together. And then I was exposed to like a DIY scene for the first time and kind of saw like the house shows and that, it's like, I'm not the only one who like is in a band. Like every other guy who like is a musician plays in a band and they do shows on the weekends and like whatever. So I was super hyped about that and told Jack Ryan and the other guy from our old band that like, you guys need to come up here and like we need to book a house show and like it's going to be sick. So we started doing that. Simultaneously, I was meeting all these new people from Drexel, and one of those was this girl who Tim eventually started dating around the same time. So like I would like invite her to the show to see our old band. She would come and bring Tim, and then she was like, like my boyfriend is in a band. They're called FV. Like I feel like you guys would like get along. So we were aware of each other at that point. And then I was kind of checking out FV and seeing like, they're doing like somewhat well in Philly and like they're going on tour. So I decided that my band and his band should play together. So through many months of texting back and forth and meeting up occasionally, we eventually got on to like, I guess, support FV on one of their small tours. And that was really the point where me, Ryan, and Jack met Tim and discovered all these commonalities, and we got along super well, and we talked about video games, and like we just had fun hanging out together for those shows. And then following that, our old bands both kind of fell apart, and we weren't super into them anymore. And then it just made so much sense like that Tim should just join us and we should start a totally new band together. So
I mean, we were playing Rock and Roll Hotel in DC, and I saw on Ryan, our guitarist's guitar, that he had a Protoss. We had a StarCraft CD like broken up on it, and I was like, "Wait, you know what StarCraft is?" Because I was a huge StarCraft kid, and he was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" And then like we had to like go do our sets, but I was just like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, I need to start a band with these guys, like this, because like at the time, like I feel like I was in a situation where it was just like, I don't know, like I didn't mesh really well like on a personal level of like my like old bandmates, and I just like was like, holy crap, there's like other like, because I'm just like a massive nerd, and like after finding out, I was like, wait, we could like, that means that we could go on tour. I think the third thing in my head was like, okay, we can put our computers in the van and play StarCraft on the way to shows. And that was enough for me to be like, this is what I need to do with my life. This is the next move. And then,
Hell yeah.
And then it just kind of like, then I think the next thing we talked about was like BioWare games, because I'm a huge fan of BioWare games, like KOTOR and everything. But yeah, and then we just kind of slowly just, we just kept hanging out, and then it was almost just like, all right, we're going to break up our bands today. This is it. Our second marriage begins. Uh, it's been happily ever after.
Was it easy dissolving the previous projects?
I mean, like it was like it's just like it was like a big, I guess like growing up moment. Just like kind of like a thing that it was the first time we ever like had to like end a, I guess, serious band in a sense. So that was like definitely a new thing. But I mean, it was it could have been a lot worse. Like it was just kind of like a learning experience. And the years leading up to Courier Club with those two old bands, like I don't know if I can speak for Mop, but like they were just like massive learning experiences on just like how to like not be a shithead and how to treat people and like I don't know, like I don't know, he's growing up. I mean, we were in those bands from when we were in like 16, like 20. So
right. So was Better Now the first thing that you guys released, or was there anything before that?
That was
the first one.
Yeah, we wrote Better Now and Liza and like in 2 days of each other, and then just recorded them at once with like another one that we never dropped.
Where do you guys record at?
This studio called Big Mama in Philly.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, there's a band called the Super Weeks, and their guitarist, both of their guitarists actually and singers are they like own the studio, and Doc is like our like tone wizard. He's like the fifth member of the band, to be honest. Very, very big Gandalf vibe, I would say, in terms of just being like, I don't know, just a nice like mentor through everything, because he's also just like been through like the whole, been through everything before. So in terms of just guidance on like a just dealing with things being in a band level and also making our band sound as good as possible.
Tim, you've been breaking up just a little bit. Nothing got lost. I can still hear you, but...
Oh, okay. Is it working again? Or...
Yeah, it's working. I don't know if you're using Wi-Fi or data. I don't know.
Oh, you know what it is? My Wi-Fi like dies ever so often, but it's back now, I think. All right. Am I alive? All right, cool. Woo.
I think you're good now, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, I live with like 6 roommates, so we all fight over the Wi-Fi, and everyone's got Zoomiversity, so...
Whoa, 6 people?
Yeah. Well, 5 now. 1 moved out. But yeah, our house is like an old convenience store. So...
Whoa.
It's like, we have this big hall downstairs kind of vibe, and then it's kind of like, you walk up like these flight of stairs, and there's 3 floors, and it's just like bedrooms.
Oh, wow.
And we're all just... I mean, it's like we, two fashion designers, and just like an illustrator, an interior designer. So it's just like a cool, like everyone just kind of like respects each other's space, and just like we all just like make stuff together. It's been a cool vibe. We used to host like raves downstairs, but I mean, rest in peace.
Yeah, that's how I followed you in the first place. Like somebody tagged you or something, and it looked like you were DJing or something like that, and had something projected on the ceiling.
Oh yeah. That was this thing called tunnel vision, where we did like, we put paper all over our walls, and then have everyone we just DJ'd all night, and everyone just got off their face and drew everywhere. And then we just like kind of like took pictures of it afterwards and posted online and being like, "This is what you made last night," kind of thing.
That rocks.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was a good time. And then we're like, we're gonna do this again, and it's gonna be bigger. And then rest in peace. But next year.
I mean, it seems like you guys do a lot of stuff like that. Am I wrong? I mean, not that exactly, but putting on events and doing videos and doing Minecraft stuff.
Yeah, I think like it's funny because it's like, I think that part is like a massive part of our identity as a band. Is just like making things just happen in terms of just like events and stuff like that. I don't know, just like it's just like it's always fun just to like be able to put together a good time for people and like create those like I don't know, our whole thing is just like because even when we started as a band, instead of like kind of like pushing our songs, like, because we were like, I don't want to be a band that has to be like, listen to my song, listen to my song, listen to my song, listen to my song. So we just like what we were doing is we would host these like release parties, technically, where we would decorate the house in like the vibe of like the song and like have like Courier Club like posters everywhere and stuff. And then we would just host a like big party and like, we wouldn't even play the songs, but it was just kind of like people were like, oh, like this band threw this party, and now like I saw the poster throughout the night kind of thing, and then that kind of translated into like a somewhat fan base. I don't know. I think just like we want to just like throw events and stuff that like people can feel like they can like safely lose their shit and have a good time, and like just like, I don't know.
I feel like that kind of thing is so lacking in the DIY world,
Yeah, I feel you.
So I haven't been in Philly that long. I got here in November 2018, but the shows are so boring sometimes because it's like people want they only want 3 bands to play. They want it done by 11.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to go to cool stuff,
That was the thing.
We had that exact same experience for many years. And then last summer, Tim and I discovered this event called Making Time, which is actually like a DJ event with dance music. And it seemed like so far from like the kind of stuff we were into. But we ended up going to one over the summer, and it was just the complete inverse of what you were just describing, where it was just like huge event, tons of different kinds of people from all walks of life, and everyone just like losing their shit and having a good time. And the vibes were just like so positive, and the music was so good. And then that was just like the catalyst that we were looking for in Philly, I think, just to like start making our own events and like doing it ourselves.
That rocks.
It felt like it was like what DIY was like supposed to be on paper in a sense.
Yeah.
And it's just, it was still so like DIY, and like I feel like the community that we found through that, because at first we were like, all right, Mop, we got to act real cool. We don't know how to act in this scenario. Where are we supposed to stand? Like, and then we realized it didn't matter. Like that was just, I feel like that was just so engraved in our heads by just like being that, like, how like DIY shows are and stuff, and like how cliquey it can get. So we were prepared for that. And then the people we found through it were just like, yeah, you guys want to throw a show? Let's have one here. Let's do it. Let's set it up. We'll just make it happen. And it felt refreshing. And kind of like definitely kind of sparked like the kind of like, I guess like that like DIY fire that I kind of like had as like a younger, like just like as like a teenager, just again, and being like, oh, this is why I like kind of fell in love with this stuff. Like, but yeah. What about you? So, Blush, did you come from where'd you come from when you went to Philly?
So I was in Ann Arbor, Michigan before this, which is basically where I grew up. And I'd been there for 15 years, and I wanted to move, but I didn't know how or where or who with. So I had some friends that had moved here before me, ahead of me, and then I don't know. Do you guys know the band Strange Ranger?
I don't think so.
They're a Portland band, and I had made friends with them when they would tour through Michigan, and we would hang out. And so I messaged them one day, like, yo, let's chill next time you guys are in Michigan. And they were like, actually, we're moving to Philly, and you should come. And so I was like, all right, it's time to go.
That's like, yeah, I feel like that's like,
I gotta check them out.
Yeah, that's so moving to Philly, though. It's just like, you're like, we're going there. Come with us. It's happening right now. You drop everything, and you're like, all right, let's do it. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what it felt like for me. I mean, I didn't really have any plans to move to Philly. I just wanted to go anywhere, But it turns out Philly's probably the best place for me at this point in my life.
Yeah, dude.
Economic reasons, scene reasons. It's really easy to tour around here. So yeah, it's worked out. I
feel you. That's kind of what, like, why we're staying here too. It's just like the best. Like, I mean, you can go on a tour, and you don't have to drive 9 hours, and you can be back in time to work your job. and so you don't, you can still afford rent, and then it's not like a kind of like, I don't know, it's a cool circuit. You can get around a lot of things, I feel like. Especially like, you can be in New York in an hour, but you don't have to pay like $2,000 to live in a small box.
Yeah, although I gotta be honest, the grass is greener sometimes for me. I wish I could live in New York,
Oh, same here.
Me too.
I mean, it's all like I go there and sometimes I don't know, like I was always just like, I'm not gonna let it get to me. I'm not gonna think that New York's great, and then it's nice, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like I feel like this is what I want Philly to be sometimes. But
I mean, there's some people in New York that you're just never gonna meet anywhere else, and that's what's amazing about it. And a lot of people are jaded, understandably, but yeah, it's hard. It's hard living in Philly.
Yeah. It's definitely a unique city. Well, I mean, honestly, who knows? But what were you saying?
So you guys were releasing singles from October 2018 to May 2019. Is there a reason you focused on doing singles during that time, or was there an idea behind that as opposed to doing an EP?
Yeah,
I think the singles thing, there were a few reasons, I'd say. I don't think one is like necessarily more important than the other, but some of the main ones were, one, that was kind of all we had as a band, where like we wanted to release music and we wanted to start building like ourselves up online and through shows and stuff. So it was like, all right, we have a song, let's put it out. The other side of that, I'd say, is more like from the music business perspective and streaming, and like everyone talks about this all the time, so I don't want to like get too into it, but yeah, especially as like an up and coming band, the way to get heard by more people is just through releasing singles. The way Spotify and algorithms and all that stuff is unfortunately just like has such a control on how music gets heard, that if you put out an album, there might be one song from that album that gets a little bit of traction, and then you've just spent 10 times the time writing, producing, mixing, whatever, because it's 10 songs or however many, then like one single. And then if you put out one single, it's like all the attention is just going to that. So for us, it just made sense to go that route until we felt like we were at the place where we had enough ears listening to our stuff where it made sense to drop the EP and people would care about it and want to put in the time to listen to it and give it attention and everything like that. So there were a few reasons, and it's kind of just like, as an artist in our position where we're like basically just on our own with everything, you kind of just have to play into how the industry works sometimes, but we're still in like full control as an independent band. We can do anything we want, but kind of just like for our own benefit, it just kind of made sense to do singles.
Do you guys write together?
Yeah. It's actually the first time I've ever been in a band where the writing is very just spread with the entire band. I mean, like there's every song is different and comes from a different person, idea wise. But it's been really cool, and it definitely feels it's really cool because I feel like I've always heard stories about being able to, because usually I feel like bands, it ends up just being like there's like one or two writers, but it's been cool because it's just like a different turn every day. It's just like Mop and Jack are like, here's this rhythm we put together, and another time I'll be like, here's a concept that I put together, but not just a little melody, and that's about it, and an idea of what it should like make it sound blue. I don't know. And then like I don't know, Ryan will have like just a guitar lick, and it's definitely like I don't know. It's been a lot of fun that way, and I think it's another reason why we dropped singles and not an EP out of the gate or something like that, because it was just like we were so new as a band, and we were still learning how each other kind of played off each other and worked, and we didn't want to drop all these songs all at once and then be like, oh, that's definitely not us. Like so we just kind of like sprinkled it like breadcrumbs as we were kind of figuring out, like, because if you listen to like Better Now, it's like so blatantly just like, we all got really excited over the fact that we liked the Strokes, and then like if you listen to like Soapbox Sunday, it's like, okay, still that, but like finding some motifs that like are unique to us. And then I think like the EP is like more of that. And we always talk about like never wanting to put out a first record until we finally feel like it's like, okay, I think we're actually onto something that might be unique. But like, I don't know.
Yeah, we have to find our sound.
Yeah.
I was going to ask if it bothers you guys getting compared to the Strokes so much.
It's fine. I feel like in some ways, the way we looked at it is let's start off in familiar territory for people so they can kind of like, in a sense, like, I don't know, this might sound crazy, but we're like, okay, we can gain like the listener's trust by like playing songs that, you know, that they can be like, oh, this kind of reminds me of this. It's kind of nostalgic of this in a sense. And then once people are like into your band and like what your band stands for and stuff, I think listeners will take more of a risk in a sense. So it's like,
oh yeah,
in the EP, we kind of did like we tested out like a very light acoustic track, and we tested out a kind of like dance punk, kind of like very influenced by like you know, the synths of Nine Inch Nails, like industrial and like kind of like the Shape the Punk to Come by Refused, like that kind of style, the synths. And like people are more, I feel like people are more open to it because it's kind of just like, oh, like this is like, I know that like I'm now like getting into this new style of music, but I know they're going to put something out after that's like something that's in comfortable territory. I don't know, that might also be mumbo jumbo, but
no, I think that's real. I think like there's definitely, you know, if your goal is to build an audience, it's definitely smart to release something that's accessible rather than jumping headfirst into some experimental territory. But it just depends on what you're trying to do. So I think you guys are being smart about it because the songs are good still. You know, even if it's familiar territory, the songs are great. So I think what else can you ask for if you're a music fan or a songwriter?
No, I mean that's kind of like where we stand with it. We're just like, let's just make enjoyable songs to begin with, and like because just like a lot of people just, especially at the time, I think people just kind of want to like, you know, okay, this is my first sit down with this band. Give me something I can dance to begin with, and then you can hit me with like the super arty kind of 8-minute instrumental post rock kind of nonsense that we definitely, if someone let us like was like, okay, millions of people are going to listen to you if you did, and you can do this, we'd be like, okay, like that's what we want to do. It would be like making soundtracks. But we don't have that privilege yet. We gotta build up the, you know, build the structure.
So Drive Like Your Kids Live Here was kind of unfortunate timing for it to release. What was your guys' album cycle looking like before this, and has it been affected?
It was gonna be dropping the EP. We were gonna have a video for Soundscape 1992 and a video for My Favorite Game, and then we were gonna do these tour dates pretty much. It was like a weekender every month until June, and that was kind of gonna be like the cycle for it. But because of this, I feel like we were just like, fuck it, let's just get it out there, and because we were posting like trailers for it and like lead up stuff and kind of like trying to grow the hype. And then we realized that because everyone was just kind of like sitting on their computer all day, like it doesn't, no one cares about like that kind of anticipation. Like the attention spans are a lot smaller. So we're like, why are we trying to pull this out in this time? It's like, let's just drop it and give it to people as soon as possible. Like, just, I don't know if there's any fans that, you know, it's just kind of like, let's just put it out there. And so that's just like, we just kind of just said, fuck it, and just like dropped it without too much planning. And I think I think it definitely worked out in a sense because people were definitely just being like, we want it now. And yeah, I mean, I think it's pushing us right now too to like, we're all gonna pretty much start recording again in like a few weeks and just seeing like, okay, let's just put out another single. Let's just like keep putting out stuff through this as as much as possible, and just not really care about too much formal planning and all that kind of stuff, and just worry about like.
Yeah, I mean I feel like albums aren't even that natural, and I question if anyone would do them if it wasn't for how the industry has worked for the past 50 years
Yeah, I
or
feel
whatever.
like albums are cool when you have the listeners that are ready to take that plunge, because then you can make something that is a full, like 45-minute piece of music that is just like a full experience. But yeah, I think that it's just more natural to be like, this is a project. It could be one song, it could be 3 songs, it could be it's just, here it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely interesting now with the how the playing field is with like all this going on, and I think that's kind of why we put all our time into like the Minecraft thing, just because we just want to kind of connect with as many people as possible, and if that's the way we can achieve that, then that's the way, like that's where the focus is, and we can put our tunes on hold basically, and just kind of try to build something that can be like somewhat beneficial to like getting us through this.
Tim, you direct all the music videos, or how did you learn how to do that?
Basically, I have a buddy. Well, our buddy Ben does all like the DP work for it, and he's just, one night we were just like, because we were working with like, we'd always start working with people, and I'm like I get super into the whole like visual side of the band. So if it's not like exactly what my vision is, I always kind of like, oh man, like it's cool, but I feel like it could have been this. And then my buddy Ben was just like, dude, just learn how to like figure out how to direct. Like, you could do it. Like, I'll listen to like, he's like basically like, I'll walk you through it kind of deal. So I just like did Soapbox Sunday with him and edited it, and then we did We All Want to Be There, and yeah, it felt. I was like, okay, this feels good. Like but it's really fulfilling, honestly. Like that was like,
yeah, the videos are great.
Thank you. I must say though, Ben is the true mastermind. Ben Schofield, he's a great cinematographer, and he deals with
Shout out to
Ben, and he kind of deals with me saying like stuff that doesn't make sense, and he's been always super helpful with that. But when this is over, he was my roommate too, so we were just like, you would come over our house and we'd have all the storyboards, whatever we were working on, just kind of plastered all over the walls. Our roommates would be like, you guys look like you're conspiracy theorists. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I think it's like, I know like as a musician, it might be wrong to say this, but I think that's like sometimes my favorite part of being in a band is like the world building and like that whole side of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's really fun, like getting the packaging right and all the external stuff. I mean, personally, I don't know, it sounds a little pretentious maybe, but I consider myself more of an artist than I do a musician. So all the other stuff is interesting and fun and exciting to me too.
I mean, I totally feel that. That's exactly how I feel it. I feel like I'm a terrible musician. Like on paper, I am probably the worst musician in Philly. Like it's just like, but I just like kind of, I don't know, you just kind of make it, you learn what you have to get what you want out of the art, I guess, kind of thing. It's like, it's kind of how I was always looked at it. But yeah, because it's
band is just so much more than just putting out songs and like writing songs. I feel like a lot of people like at first thought might not even like realize that, but there's just so many just like streams of projecting like what you're trying to achieve. I don't know if that's a good way of saying it, but there's not only the songs, but there's the album artwork, there's the promotion, which is all visual, there's the videos, there's everything to like the backdrop that you see like at a live show, there's merch, like, and it all is like tied together. So I feel
like, and there's just like the general, like, what is our like general ethos going to be? Like, what are we going to like kind of like not necessarily stand for? I guess, yeah. Like, what are we going to stand for as a band? Like, why? How do we convince people that we should exist as a band? Because I think one thing we always talk about, how it's like, it's such a massive privilege to be able to just go play music for people and dance around on stage and get paid for it. Like, So it's like, how do we kind of prove ourselves that like this is why this should exist in the world in a sense?
True. And also just giving people like the most we're capable of doing. It's like, if Tim wants to make a sick music video and can figure out how, like, why shouldn't we? It's like, we want to do the minimum amount would be like just putting out music, but I think we all find it fulfilling to like just do everything to like the highest degree that we're capable of and just making everything awesome, like because we like it and also because we think other people will like it and appreciate it too. So
that's why I knew that I fuck with you guys, because I'm interested in people who are like really pushing themselves to make something great, you know, and I want to surround myself with people who are doing that. It's really easy to become complacent in the indie world at like the DIY level when you're not being rewarded for anything. There are a lot of people who are settling for things or just don't have very good taste, frankly. So I don't know.
I definitely feel that like it gets very like you get so trapped in like it's like you get so trapped in a bubble on how you think things work, and you're like, well, this is the way it is done. Like, you're like, this is how people in the scene do it. That means that this is the way I have to do it. And then you're like, you take yourself out of that bubble for a second, and you're just like, wait, why the fuck? What? Why was I doing that? Like, I don't know. But
yeah, you get removed from like even your past work. It's like, I can't believe I ever thought that was good, and it's partially like who you're surrounded by.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and that's why I love being in a band with these guys, because I feel like they're always like showing me that, where if I like feel like sometimes I have a habit of doing like what we just talked about, and then I just will like hear their thoughts and just snap out of it and be like, oh yeah, like that's why I make music with you guys, because you're always like showing me how to push it forward. And then, you know, just a cycle of that I feel like is awesome, just as someone who wants to be in a band. So
just always kind of.
Do you guys know the band Turtlenecked?
I don't think so.
No, actually.
I think you guys would fuck with his music. It's very kind of like dance punk, very kind of early 2000s inspired.
Oh hell yeah!
But he tweeted the other day. I don't know if I could find it here, but it was basically like having good taste is being able to navigate your bad taste. You know, having good taste is being able to refrain from having bad taste, and it's not necessarily about.
It's just kind of like accepting everything and finding the good parts about it. You thinking like just kind of like knowing how to navigate all that.
It's just like damn, I wish I could find it.
Wait, I'm going on he's on his Twitter.
Oh yeah, his Twitter is HARPATS. And don't worry, I'll edit this so it doesn't sound like we're fucking around.
I must say, I saw the other guest you had. Insane. Literally, Pity Sex, Brave Bird, and Kevin Crowder. I was like,
do you guys like those bands?
Pity Sex was my favorite band in high school, like, of all time. Like, they were, like, literally, like, I would just, that's, like, what made me, like, just, like, be like, oh, I want to do, like, this kind of stuff.
Dude, I love to hear that. Yeah, those are both Ann Arbor bands, which is, you know, where I'm from.
Okay, that makes sense. Because I was gonna say, I was like, when you said you're from Ann Arbor, I was just like, no way. Like, I was like, I don't know. I was gonna answer like, is that like a super artsy town, or is it just like, luckily those bands are from there? Like, I've never been.
Dude, yeah, it's like a college town. It's where the University of Michigan is.
Okay, cool.
For the most part, I just lucked out at being there at the same time when the scene was what it was, you know. At the same age as them, like Chris from Brave Bird, I went to high school with, and there's this place in Ann Arbor called the Metal Frat, and it's like a fraternity, DIY.
Yup, I watched Brave Bird. A video of them playing live there.
Dude, I love that. Those are my stomping grounds. So yeah, Chris rushed there and became a brother there. And I was friends with him already, so I just kept hanging out with him. Even though I didn't go to the university, I would go to the shows there. And Brendan from Pity Sex was friends with people who had rushed there that were older than us. And so Pity Sex formed there. And yeah, we were just all around at the same scene. And I'm very lucky to have those connections, and I was able to hit them up for the first episodes.
Hell yeah. No, that's so cool because like growing up, you know, you would kind of you would hear kind of like it's almost like mythos of like other cities and like what it's like there and stuff, and you need to be like, all right, Ann Arbor, you're like Brave Bird, Pity Sex, like Big Muff Fuzz Pedals, okay, like, but yeah, that's it. I found the tweet, by the way.
Yeah.
Good taste is just a display of mastery over bad taste.
Dude, that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I definitely believe that because there's so much stuff that I've done artistically, even just from like last year, that I'm like, oh, I can't believe I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. It's and do you think it's ever gonna be? Do you think it's always gonna be that way? Like, you think you're just always gonna look back at what you did like a year ago and be like, you know, what was that? Why did I think that was good? Like, will that ever end? Because I always kind of go back and forth. I'm like, you see those bands that are like putting out great records, and you're like, do you think they know it's a good record? Like I don't know. Like,
there's actually I heard this interview from Alex Turner from Arctic Monkeys, where obviously they've been a band for like 15 years, but on their last tour, they talked about when they had to play songs from their first record, it just felt like doing a cover band because they had changed so much from like 2006 to 2019, where they were like, we don't even want to play these songs anymore, but like we know people love them, so we will, but it just like doesn't even feel like our own stuff. So just a little insight for that.
Yeah, I think it's probably, you're right, it's always going to be like that, and then every once in a while I think you get lucky where it's like you make something that is long lasting to even yourself.
Yeah, and I guess that's like the one thing you can just that's it, like that's the thing that you need to hit.
Do you think you guys will be doing this for the rest of your life?
If I'm still breathing. I think it's the only thing that as of now is like I always say it fills the void. It's the only thing that fills like, and that sounds so like sad, depressing, but it more so just like, I don't know, it's the thing that like I'm like just kind of gives me purpose to keep going and moving and like creating. But I did start to figure out that kind of what we were talking about like you being like saying like I look at myself as an artist and not a musician, that it's not necessarily like the creation of music that kind of like is fulfilling. It's just like the creation of anything. Like I'm getting the same feelings of making the Minecraft festival as I would for making like a song off a record, as I would making a video. And I'm realizing like, okay, it's just that feeling of just like, this was a thing that didn't need to exist, but now it does, like that.
Yeah, and it just so happens that maybe music was like the first thing you chose.
Yeah, and it's like also I feel like it's I think like just like I love like just the feeling of like the connection of people singing together, like that is. And I remember going to shows and just being like, I always explain it like as like, and we're talking about it with someone yesterday, how like 75% of like a live show is not you and the band kind of connecting, it's you and like the other showgoers connecting. So it's like, if I could just make that happen, like that's all I want. Like I just think that's so cool to see, just like massive rooms of people come together over the same thing and just kind of like that kind of like just, I don't know, that connectivity is like just kind of, I don't know, it hits different.
Yeah, what about you, Mop? Do you think you'll be playing music for the rest of your life?
Yeah, I hope so. I feel like at this stage I'm still working towards like a dream that I had when I was a kid, and I'm not there yet. So hopefully with this band we just keep getting, and we keep working until we get to that point. And you know, I'm still just like on that. And then after that, who knows really? I mean, like I really hope I do, just because I personally haven't done anything that I love as much as this, but you know, I feel like it's impossible for myself to say, except for how I feel right now. So, yeah.
That's so right. Yeah. You're right on that.
Dude, I really appreciate you guys talking to me today. This has been very fun.
Dude,
yeah,
thanks for
this was
us.
awesome.
It's fun to just like chill and, I don't know, like you definitely like, every time you like hit me up about like some weird obscure video game thing I'd post, I was like, yes. I was like,
Yeah, I mean, that's like the dog whistle for gamers is when somebody posts, some niche thing that you're into. It's like seeing somebody with like a tiny beanie and cuff jeans. It's like, oh, I know.
yeah, you're like, I get it. Like, because
How do you guys know each other again? Or do you not know each other?
Just from Instagram. Okay. We've never met. I followed him off of, somebody tagged you during that event. I was like, I gotta know who these people are. So
we definitely have to hang when the lockdown is over.
Yeah, I'd love to chill, drink a brew, play some Armored Core, or
dude, I would
whatever.
love to rip some Armored Core.